Hey guys, so happy to be here today. I'm Jessica Henry, and I have kind of an exciting thing that I wanted to do with you. So without further ado, I wanted to show you my red snapper I got back here. It's kind of a glare on it right now, but there he is, and I think it's going to be really kind of fun. I love painting these fish, and so I'll show you real quick here. So this is the guy, and he's beautiful. I'm just so grateful to our local grocery store. They actually saved it and wrapped it up for me. I told her what I was going to do. So anyway, really happy to be here. Hi guys, good to see you. Just a couple of quick announcements before I jump in so you guys can all just kind of get here. Good to see you guys. Just wanted to say also just here real quick, hi guys. You know, just wanted to throw this out there because a lot of you guys have been extremely supportive and very kind and encouraging for everything in my life. And first of all, I wanted to say thank you guys for your support for me, and I just really appreciate it. Good morning. And so anyway, I wanted to say thank you for that. And a few months ago, we had announced, Daniel Hillriedel and I had announced that we were engaged. Well, I just wanted to say thank you guys for your support. We are no longer engaged, and that is okay. We are still business partners, and we are working towards continuing on with Renaissance Creative Arts and Renaissance Academy of Fine Arts. So everything will be the same. We're just no longer engaged. So I wanted to thank you guys for your outpouring of support and encouragement and congratulations. Some of you have been still sending messages, and I just didn't mean to ignore you. I just didn't know what to say. So anyway, that's out of the way. So here we go. Just want to jump in real quick. Somebody had asked while I was doing my speech that is this natural lighting? It is not natural lighting today. I really wanted to control the environment as much as possible here in the studio because I'm going to take as much time as I need to on this painting, just because I want to give this fish its due honor. So what I have here is just a gessoed board. It's a 1/2 inch by, I guess that's 11 by 14. I'm assuming it's something like that. Anyway, I just put a couple coats of gesso on, and then I put a thin layer of the Gamsol with the burnt sienna and ultramarine blue. Okay, so I did that. It's pretty much dry. I did that earlier this morning, and it's good to go. So I have all my normal stuff. I'm going to bring you much closer so you'll be able to see closer to the camera. But yeah, so I just toned my canvas with just, you know, fancy cheap brushes. I'm going to be using my regular Gamsol, and I've got my linseed oil right down here. And then I've got just a hodgepodge of brushes down here on the ledge of my easel. And then for my paints today, I have one of my nifty palettes that I do make, and I have a few more places left. I said we're going to be doing a batch of 24 right before the holiday season, and so that's filling up quickly. And if you'd be interested in one, let me know, and I can send you the link. These are just really wonderful. I've painted on my first one for 23 years, and so anyway. Actually, I'm celebrating my 30th year of painting this year, so this November will be 30 years. So anyway, colors I'm using today on my palette: titanium white, cad yellow pale, and then I did put on cad red light and cad red medium. And then I have yellow ochre, burnt sienna. I'm not going to use, I had those on for yesterday. Hi guys. Ultramarine blue, I have phthalo green and alizarin crimson. I don't know if I'm going to use them or not, but we'll just see however it goes. So yeah, so I'm really excited to do this. I've got my fish set up over here, and I have just this natural light, or excuse me, not natural light. The light bulb is like a natural bulb, but it's just my little spotlight kind of directed onto it, and I'm afraid that's going to be kind of a glare on it, so you won't really be able to see the accurate color while I'm painting, but you will on my canvas. So without further ado, I'm going to get my chair up closer to the easel here, and it's always kind of like oh yes, Patty, I'll send you the link. Yeah, and in fact, I also wanted to say we're no longer varnishing the palettes. They're a little lighter weight, and so I like that. In fact, I have a detached tendon in my elbow, and holding them isn't a problem. It's extremely painful to have the detached tendon, And surprisingly, they're not very heavy palettes. And in fact, by not varnishing them, they'll be even lighter. And yes, it is a real fish. Here, I'll show you in case you missed it at the beginning. I went this morning and got him. Isn't he handsome? Look at that guy. So anyway, we're gonna get this going before it starts stinking. Oh, if you do paint a raw fish, just make sure that it's gutted before you paint. I did one not that long ago, and I'll tell you what, if it's not gutted, it starts smelling like rotten dead fish, like immediately, and it's just awful, awful, awful. So for whatever reason, by gutting it, it helps all that. So, okay, have my palette, and what I'm going to focus on today with this painting is, really I'm just going to focus on how you would get that, the different layered effect. So I'm going to just draw them out on here first, the way I normally start a painting, not with pencil, but with the paint. And then I'm going to just kind of take apart the layers of how you would capture some of those scales and the shines and these little sparkly things. And I also want to focus on clarity of thought, basically. Clarity of brushwork, laying the pieces of paint down clean and tidy. So this fish has this gorgeous color, and I really want to celebrate that in this painting. You can eat your still. I am planning on eating this fish. It was very expensive, so I thought, you know what? I'm going to paint it and put it in the fridge and have them for dinner tonight. So I'll let you know. All right, so let me get this nice and up close and squeezing everything together here. And then I'm going to bring you guys in. And sorry if I jostle you around a little bit. Let's do it this way. I'm going to angle this down, and that should be good. Okay, let's jump in. I may not be able to see your comments, but I like to see your comments, and I will respond to them later. So whether you are watching on Facebook or YouTube, leave your comments, and I will get back to you. So I am going to start out with just a size 2 and just a bristle. Let me put my oil over here, getting everything set up. All right, and then I've got my roll of paper towels back here behind me. Well, that just happened. Well, look at that. Huh. Okay, here we go. You never know what's going to happen on live, which makes it kind of fun. I've actually been doing this and had the entire the lights fall. And that was kind of interesting. All right, so good thing it didn't fall on my fish. No damage done. And hey, you roll with it. I think one thing plein air painting has taught me is you have to go with whatever happens. And because you don't have a lot of time. So you just march on. Hi guys, good to see you. All right, so what I'm going to do to clean this up a little bit, sorry for the delay. There we go. Well, this might make kind of an interesting, you know, what is it Bob Ross always said? There's no such thing as accidents, just or mistakes. There's only happy accidents. So look at that. Now, and you know, I think that green might provide a really cool backdrop for the red fish. You know, I never would have saw that happening if the palette or if the canvas hadn't fallen right on my palette. So there you go. Happy accidents. Stay. All right, so cleaning this off a little bit more now. Here we go. I don't want that one either. Let's get a fresh paper towel. And these are Bounty. Good morning, everybody. Glad to have you with. It is a beautiful Friday. And yeah. Okay, so look at that. Back to square one. Okay, so just to draw on my fish, I'm going to grab a little bit of burnt sienna and ultramarine blue, a little bit of thinned mixture here, and I'm just going to kind of put this fish on about the same angle that I see him over here. So let's do this. I'm looking at the overall shape. I love how his tail just kind of drapes back that way, so I'm definitely going to be painting that. And I'm going to be taking my time on this, so if you go away and come back or whatever, I'm just going to focus on this, celebrating this beautiful fish. Looking at, it's kind of like a three-dimensional shape in here. And I'm comparing it to straight lines. So if I kind of imagine that this tabletop edge here is on my canvas, where would that be? About like almost under his nose. Let me match those. So I'm leaning way back in my chair and I'm lining my brush up with the edge of what I just drew. I'm bringing my arm over here. I need to make it a little bit more horizontal. About like that. Okay. Now, those are just, I like to show every now and then in my videos ways that I learned to draw a little bit more accurately from my classical background, because I do believe that at the heart of every successful painting is a successful drawing. And I think it obviously makes a well-rounded artist to draw your, to be competent at drawing. And I'm going to go ahead and get on my soapbox here for a little bit. I just have this frustration every time I learn that an artist I respected projects their paintings on canvas, and I just think, why not learn to do it authentic? Why not just be authentic? Anyone can learn to draw. I am a firm believer, if you can write your name, you can draw. I've seen it, and I know this from experience. I used to teach children how to draw. For 14 years, I taught children's art classes. And if I didn't believe it, I wouldn't say it. If you can write your name, you can draw. So there's no excuse. Nobody needs to be projecting your images onto canvas. I don't even know how to do that. But I do think to be a competent, well-rounded artist, drawing is key. And then I like to demonstrate and show people how to do that. In our academy, we have a lot of people, and you know, we start at the very beginning. There's no shame in starting at the beginning. And we have a lot of people who are successful, and we have others that are brand new at art. So that's very exciting. All right, good to see you guys. Yeah. So if you are interested in learning how to just get better at those things, as well as, you know, anything you can try your hand at. We do all kinds of stuff in the academy. We're just wrapping up our still life section, then we'll be heading into master copies and then portraiture. So I'm really excited about that. So this body I'm looking at goes a little bit more, the tail goes beyond the edge of that board and then down. So I like this top line here on the fish. I don't know that mine is exactly as I see it, but again, just going to take the time and make sure that it's reading the way I want it to. And one thing I love about painting fish is these flabby, squishy bellies. So I really want to make sure I try to capture that in there. And then the tail going back this way. I'll try to do that with just a couple of brush strokes. I want to keep that as subdued and believable as like that. And I like how it just kind of fades off. I also like how these different angles kind of juxtapose this and that. So I'll play with some of that. I don't know that I'm going to get that towel in there, but maybe I'll just suggest it. I think it helps with some of the strength of design and all that. So let's just see what can happen. Again, you have this theme with the angles, and I don't like that. Let's just let that go off. We'll just ignore it. Okay, so I think that's fine. All right, now the thing about painting something that is so incredibly perishable as a raw fish, you have to work really quickly. So I'm probably not going to talk too much, but because I really want to focus on getting this before the thing starts smelling. So I will explain what I'm doing and just kind of move along that way. So I am mapping out the shadow here. I wonder if that is the right angle for you guys. Well, yeah, you're seeing on there, my perspective of the fish is more above, and from where the camera is, you're more horizontal. So this isn't going to match, but that's okay. Just getting the anatomy here of the gill laid in place, and all these things under the... I'm going to move it just a little because I think there's prettier color right in here. And I love this fin right there, so I want to get that in there. And then I am going to suggest... I kept pulling up his... this fin up here. It's really pretty with yellow on it. So I'm going to try to get just some little accents of that. Surprisingly, there's no smell yet. And I guess that this fish just came in this morning. I called yesterday to see if we had sort of an ETA on these fish, and she said, check back in the morning. We have a shipment coming in, so yeah, that's pretty fresh. Okay, so that looks fine. Getting this top shadow in here. It's a nice solid shape, and the eye coming around. I can't wait to do this. There's a bounced light from the board coming up, making the face all shiny in there. You probably can't see it on there, but it's really pretty. So let's get that in. And then, of course, all these different... The eye is almost like a marble, and it has these really pretty effects in there. There's the edge of that board, and then a little bit of the shadow underneath this way. And then there's no shadow over here. And none over there. Okay. Just work on the shape of this a little bit more. Okay, checking this angle here. Leaning back. Okay. All right, happy with that. All right, so I'm gonna I'll probably just use this brush. Gonna do the shadow of the side of the fish. Grabbing some alizarin crimson, and because I like alizarin in the shadows of a red object because it's cool. And this is a pretty warm light, so I want the shadows to be cool. It has to be the opposite of that. Let's grab a little bit of burnt sienna. Now that I'm no longer drawing this in place, I'm just going to stick right to linseed oil to thin the paint a little bit. If you guys don't want to see the comments and you're not able to see what's happening on my palette, you can switch the comments off to the right. Okay, so squinting down at my fish head, I have the map, sort of that blueprint laid out of where I'm going to be putting this color. I try to keep my brush strokes also very just straightforward and clean as much as possible. I added a little bit of yellow ochre into that shadow piece here because I think that body is really a lighter color than the head, so it's picking up more of that white scale color. So I lightened it with less alizarin and a little bit more yellow ochre. Also, the body is flattening out, so it's getting more ambient light hitting it. Let's take some white. Get that back in there. So that pretty much comprises that passage of shadow there. I'm going to grab some cad red as I come around to do the shadowed nose on the face. I don't know, do fish have noses? I don't know. They do now. Oh my goodness. What do you get when you cross an artist with a Minnesotan? Someone really happy to paint a fish. So this is so fun. Oh my goodness. So what I have here is I just added a little bit more cad red in this nose passage. Oops. And bring it, I'm going to add a little bit of white to this cad red because under this, what is that under there? Not, this is their gill, but you know, like their jaw down here. It's almost pinky tones. And then this, as it comes around his eye, I get a lot more of those pink and cad red light tones in here. Sometimes if I have too much paint on my brush, it's a good color, but it's too much. I'll just take my brush and kind of roll it off on my palette, and it just gets off just enough to clean my brush. Laying down pieces of paint. Of course, like I said, it's very perishable, so I'm working on the parts that I really want to capture looking wet. Oh, trick! Here's a trick I learned. In the past, when I've painted fish, I've painted quite a few, and I always just sort of spritzered, and every time it would start to look dry, and that's okay and everything because the heat up from the light will dry it. But today, I had this epiphany. I thought, why don't I just rub it with oil? So I rubbed olive oil, since I do plan on eating it. I didn't think linseed was a really good idea. So I rubbed it with olive oil so it maintains that shine. So if you do paint a fish, that's a good trick. And so far, so good. It looks really good. So what I'm doing down here on my palette is I'm just grabbing bits and pieces of shades of red as I see them. It's pretty much 50 shades of red on this fish, red snapper. I do love red. Really vibrant, rich color. And what I'm doing here is I'm just grabbing the color, and as I see it, I'm just painting it where I see it. If I have extra on my brush, I'll kind of look around and see where else I can put that, and it's just how you economize your materials. There's no point in wiping your brush off a dozen times if you're just going to go mix up that color again. So for example, I have this sort of salmon color, and I'm looking around and I see it's actually in quite a few places. So why not? And that's how I do portraits and plein air and pretty much anything. Is you just, wherever you see it, just put it down if it's on your brush. And I'm also letting my brushwork describe the form of this fish. So the tail here has this nice flat quality, and I want it to have that feeling of going back. So I'm letting my brushwork describe that form, lightly pressing where I don't want a lot of paint moved around. I'll just gently lay a piece down, and then just lightly lift off. A little bit of cad red light on there. If you're familiar with my videos and you've watched a bunch of them, you'll know that that's not a color I use very often. I do like it. I used to put it on my palette all the time, but I just haven't for a long time because it's not really one that you use very often. So what I'm doing here too is I'm really just focusing on capturing these bright colors before they fade. I don't know if they're gonna fade. I've never painted a red snapper. So this is kind of uncharted territory for me. I don't think it's gonna fade. But, I don't want to take all day doing this either. So this is a little bit more orangey color as it kind of fades back there into the color. And I'll come back through with the white when I get these color patches a little bit more in place. Again, letting the brush, and I'm talking about layers too in this. I wanted to really break down some of these layers and tell you how then. So I'm not really worried about the scales and the sparkles quite yet, because although they're beautiful, they're like the last thing you'd add. And so I don't want to, I don't want to get into all those quite yet. That's too bright. I'm spending, what you don't see is I'm spending a lot of time squinting. All right, thanks guys. Okay, so I'm squinting down at the fish quite a bit and just simplifying where I see these different color changes and value changes, and some of these shifts like this. Grabbing some yellow ochre. Oops, got too much white in that. As it comes around, closer this way, I see this passage of sort of this muted yellow ochre in there. But that shadow's bigger, so I really want that a little bit more pronounced. So taking cad red and some ultramarine blue, and this in here. And I'm pressing, but I lift as I come over towards into the light. Okay, now a little bit of that. I might just take a mixture of both cad reds there and come around. There's still some dark on my brush. Grabbing a little bit of that, and I want to start getting this eye in. So let's paint that eye. That's going to be fun. Pieces of paint, little pieces of paint. So it's not a perfect circle, but it comes a nice angle this way. And then the top part has a darker passage right in here. I want that a little bit darker. And then let's take some cad red with some cad yellow. And there's this brilliant, you know how when you see a marble and the light's coming this way, there's a thing on the inside of the marble over here. That's because the light is traveling through the surface this way and it's hitting the back wall of that marble or a drinking glass or whatever. And so that's what happens with eyes too. So the light is shining through this way, and we have this brilliant swoosh of color right here. Just like that. And then on the side that's getting more of the light, that's a little bit more yellow. So I'll wipe my brush off, and then this is how I blend. I just take those two colors and just gently, I know you can't really see it, but I just gently merged the two pieces together. And then as it comes around, there's sort of this milky passage where these two colors meet and just kind of blend right into the cheek, right here. Here. Okay, so we'll get that dark iris, just black and sienna. think I want a little bit of linseed oil in there because it's, I know you can't see that, but that's okay. It's just dark. Get this right. Turning my bristles. And it's kind of more of an elliptical. It's not a perfect circle. And I don't want it to be super sharp edges. Because I think that if it's really sharp, it just kind of looks cut out, like a cookie cutter. All right, so wiping my brush, you probably can't see because my hand is down here, but I do wipe my brush all the time. It's how I keep my colors from getting muddy. And so you can keep, you know, that, I was going to talk about that clarity of your brush strokes as well too. So by keeping your paper towel here, this is as much a part of your painting process as a brush because you are constantly wiping it before reloading. And it's just a good habit to get into. I do it when I'm plein air painting too. And okay, so I'm just taking some alizarin here, and I think that there was a little bit of blue in it, just to get a nice darker area there, just around the eye a little bit. So what I want to do now, while I'm thinking about it, and I have it right here, I've got a little tiny bit of white, putting my pinky on this. I just want to, right on the dark there, there's a little glossy highlight. I do want to get those in while I can, because they're going to go away quick. All right, and then a little bit of lighter just right under this. Okay. Moving around, working on some of these little bit lighter color passages on the face. That's actually a little grayer than I painted it, so I'm going to paint it grayer. I'm letting some of these colors just gently play together. They don't have to have really distinct boundaries unless there's a sharp edge on there. Yeah, it is important to definitely always be wiping your brush off. It's good for the brush, it's good for your paint, it's good also to keep your colors clean. And cleaning your brush off often will help with that too. And I don't know if you follow very many of my videos, the quality of the paper towel matters too. In one of my videos, I used really cheap paper towels, and it was just a nightmare because it's like wiping your brush on paper. Nothing gets absorbed. So you want to get a little bit nicer paper towels. Bounty's good. Some people say Viva is their favorite. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Just go with what you like. As long as it is absorbent, you're going to do just fine. And then I think we're about ready for some of these lighter brights in here. So let's get some more white. Let's a little more aggressive with the whites. I'm just letting them mix with the pinks and things that are going on my palette right now. And because some of these whites on here, I want to save my brightest whites for the sparkles. So I'm not using anything pure white, even though I look at that and I can look them close and say, well, that's white. Why wouldn't I paint it white? Because you have to save your whitest whites for the highlights. So looking at his jaw, as it comes down here, I'm not worried about all the little dark lines of his, like the mouth thingies yet. Squinting at this, I want to get some grayish undertones in there too, because that gray really makes it feel fishy. Something's fishy here. Okay, you had to know the puns were going to come. All right. That top mouthpiece comes down like that. This is a little bit grayer, so I'm just taking it in pieces now, just kind of breaking down to what do I see, where do I see it. And of course, if you follow me on Facebook, I always post these pictures of the finished painting. If you're watching this on YouTube, I wish that there was a way, but at the top of my homepage, or I'll do a Facebook link down below, you can follow me on Facebook and see the finished painting up close. And so there's always that. Okay, now what I have here is, it doesn't make sense. It's kind of blocky and weird. So I want to clean my brush off. And I'm going to take clean dry brush, grabbing this white and pulling it. See, by doing that, I just gave it a whole top lip. And then down here, I'm just gently picking up some of these colors and moving it over into the shadowed area. So just a really soft, subtle treatment to make it look like those pieces of color still have their own integrity and that they're gently blending with the fish and its anatomy. I might even just take a little bit of this light pink and do some streaks down here, just to show those different things that are happening in it's not the gill, but whatever that is under their jaw. So on a little bit light blue over here where I'm seeing the gill meet the body, just has sort of a bluish gray quality. So far, no stink. This is great. You guys should paint red snappers. Everybody should paint red snappers. They don't stink. I mean, I will tell you right now, lesser known fact about myself is I don't have a very good nose. It's difficult for me to smell some things, probably from all these years of painting. and I do love the smell of oil paints. I'm just one of those people that I'll open a tube just to smell it. It smells so good. Probably fried my nostrils at some point in my youth. But, oh well. Okay, so I've got some gray over here. Yeah, you can't really see it on the camera, but I'm just taking it every now and then to pop in some of these anatomical features on this fish, where the things from under the gill, where it connects and things, there's this stuff going on. Okay, so jumping back up here now to the top part of the fish, I just took a little cad yellow and some white and some of that pink that was kind of on the surface of this palette. All right, thank you. Thanks, guys. Yeah, and I wanted to mention, these demo paintings are always available. I'll put them up on my website, jessicahenryfineart.com. And if you're watching on YouTube, I'll put a link down below. On Facebook, it's just on my homepage. Oh my goodness, I'm having so much fun. So again, just taking smaller pieces of paint as I'm coming around the belly of this fish. I'm squinting at it and I'm seeing the soft, light, almost coral white color in here. And that comes around. And I want the brush strokes to kind of flatten a little bit here as the belly does this, like that. now there's this really nice, almost creamy color in here. So what I want to do before I get into that is go back through here and just not soften, because I do not like to do this soften. If I just mentioned earlier that you just take your brush, dry or at least wiped off brush, and just kind of just lightly touch those. Especially when you're painting something that's scaly, you don't want to do the whole smooth. Just like gently just lift and sort of dab like that. So it's really hard to write that vernacular in my book and stuff, but you know, that's just, it's technical paint jargon that the longer you paint, the more you understand dabbity dab and so forth. Because they're just, how else can you describe it? I'm sure that's what Monet said when he was painting water lilies. You just do a little bit of dabbity dab in here. I guess he probably didn't say it like that. All right. So this is, again, I mentioned at the beginning, working in layers. So this is just the first layer. So we'll come back onto here, or I'll come back after I've done this first layer and add a little bit more of some of the brighter colors and vibrant things that are going on the top. Okay. So that's fine like that. I do want this a little brighter right in here where the gill meets the rest of the body. Clean pieces of paint. And again, I'm careful not to make my white as white as I might think it is over there, because the whitest white has to be reserved for the shines. Always thinking about the contour and topography of this fish as the body kind of comes around like that. Yeah, that's the right color. So again, I'm just using CAD red light and a little bit of CAD yellow and some white just to get this color just as I see it in here. Yeah, this, somebody had commented here about eating this fish earlier too, and Linda, I just see your comment here about capers and lemons, and yeah, I'm definitely gonna have a nice dinner tonight with this fish. So pretty. And then as this white turns and goes under, it's got this really almost pearly gray down there. So that's gonna be fun. I'll get that. And I'm avoiding this fin here right now because I'm gonna go over this with the brush stroke like that. So I kind of just want to go around it a little bit. So wiping my brush off, getting into some of this pearly gray that I just mentioned. Right in here. What's that? Okay, there we go. And now I'm kind of altering my brush stroke to go a little bit more like this. Let's get a little linseed oil in there. And I think that that's still a little bit too dark, but I want to go a little too dark and then I can lighten it a little bit with some highlights and stuff. Lightly pressing as I lift up on the brush to blend. So just a very lighter, much lighter pressure will kind of take two colors and just merge them together by just pressing lighter. I do have, this fish is gutted, so there's a nice sharp edge right here. Get that in place. Okay, and then again, I'm going to come back, I wiped my brush off, going to come back in through here and just soften a little bit where the white or the creamy color that I just laid down meets the other colors. So again, just with a clean, or a dry brush, just making that transition a little bit more muted. You don't want to go nuts because you'll lose all the integrity of this patch of color and that patch of color. You don't want to do that. So I'm wiping my brush off quite frequently here. I'm keeping this first layer nice and clean and bright. Okay, not worried about that because there's some other stuff in there that I'll get to. This back in here, I'm sorry, I've got, what have I have got here? I want the, just down here on the tail, a little bit more vibrant than I have because it has a nice finish to the composition there. Okay, now I'm coming back up to the face because I just, you know, I like to jump around the whole thing because it gives me a sense of unity. So I'm seeing passages up in here that, thank you, that I just need a little bit more punch to them. And so far I've just been using the same size 2 brush. Let's give that a little bit more kick, adding it a little bit more white to this. Oh, that's pretty. Aren't fish pretty? You know, I miss the ocean so much, and I'm pathetic. Here I'm living in Ohio, and I go to the seafood counter, and I just stand there, and I just smell. And the people always say, "Can I help you, ma'am?" "Oh, no, just looking." I don't have the heart to say. I'm just smelling with my kind of bad nose because it makes me so happy. Because it makes me think of the ocean, and I miss it. So, once I think certain things just get in your blood. I hear people are that way about the mountains too. That's just the way it is. And horses. I grew up with horses, and just some things are really never meant to leave. So, all right, so let's go back in here now. I think that first layer is pretty good. There's a few just different anatomical things that I want to get now. Like underneath where the belly is cut, you can kind of see some of the other half of the cut here. So I want to get some of those in, and I want to put the fin in and just do things like that. So let's jump in and get those. We'll do this fin right here. Taking some of these whites. So I've been sharing a little bit of what's been going on with the TV show. A couple of years, like a year ago, we filmed the pilot episode, and I don't know if if you haven't been following me very long, it was really exciting. We filmed the pilot episode and all that. We've been working on funding. A lot of these things take years to get off the ground, unfortunately, but just very excited for it. And in fact, I just got interviewed a couple days ago by Western Art Collector. They're going to put in the November issue this year in Western Art Collector a whole article on the TV show that we're working on, and going to be filming the remaining 12 episodes, hopefully this coming up spring. So all these things take time, but so it's very exciting. So be watching for that article in Western Art Collector. And I'll keep you posted on the update on the show and when that'll all be taking place and so on and so forth. Working on getting commercial sponsors and stuff. As the executive producer for the show, it's a learning process for all of us involved, and so it's very exciting, but it's kind of a tedious process here. But that's what's going on with that. All right, so I don't want to get overworking it because I like the freshness right now, so I don't want to kill it. Okay, moving on. Doing this part back here. I'll take some yellow ochre and sienna. I'm squinting down at it. It kind of looks like a fleshy passage back in here. Like that. And then I'll put some fins kind of overlapping that. Okay, so speaking of fins, there's some fins back there, back here. And let's do this. These fins are so pretty, but they're really like a one brush stroke fin. Like that. So I can clean that up by just doing this. And I am going to take a little bit of highlight down here for now, because I see it there. And you never know when these highlights are going to dry up and fade away. So I'll get those in place. I know you won't be able to see these, but I will get in here real quick. Pop in a few of those. And I also, this brush is kind of clunky for what I want to do. Well, okay, I'm tempted to get in and do more of the sparkles, but I won't. Behave myself. Those are the very last icing on the cake things. So I'm taking some cad red and a little yellow. I want some sienna because I'm going to do the tail fins. Just a darker right here. Just letting that kind of fade off. Squinting down at it too because it's a weird shape, but if you squint, it simplifies everything, and then you can see it just as a nice simplified shape. All these secrets and tricks and things to make our world easier. Because when you're dedicated to being authentic, you learn more and you just become a better artist, and I think that you take more pride in your work knowing that you did it. You did it. I would rather look at a painting that maybe has drawing problems or has some inaccuracies, whatever, than I would enjoy looking at a painting that was projected onto a canvas. I don't care if it's perfect. If it's projected, it's a paint by number. So I have pretty strong opinions about that. I say do it right. All right. That's okay for that. I want a really dark shadow under there, because that just gives it that illusion of being lifted up off the table surface. There. Okay. Thank you guys for your comments. I will have to get to all of them when I'm done. Okay, now this fin, I did say I was going to do that, so let's get to that. It's kind of a yellow ochre, a little bit of sienna. I'm going to lay this down first. Okay, and just put a little bit of ochre in here. Now, let's take a bigger brush. See what happens if I do this. Hopefully I don't mess it up. I think that's too big. Let's see what happens. Did it work? I think it worked. Let's do it one more time. Oh, I'm happy with that. Okay. We take what we can, right? Okay. There's some little fins down here, so we'll get those. And they're kind of like a brownish, pinkish color that fades up to white. So do that. That's fine. And then, all right, so there's some anatomical things going on right here. Let's tuck those in place. Okay, and then the fin back here, that dorsal fin is really cool. We'll get some of this darker alizarin, sienna, and that just kind of, where does it start? About here. Just want a nice dark passage for that. It's dark right there, but then it turns into a bright orange. So I'm taking cad yellow, a little bit of that cad red light. And if you don't want to spend a whole lot of money on that cad red, I bought the 1980 by Gamblin cad red, and I'm not disappointed with it. I don't really love all the 1980 line that they have, because if you're not familiar with it, it is so named because that was the prices of those oil paints back in 1980. And so they are a lesser grade oil paint that they make. And so if you don't have a whole bunch of money, extra money to spend, you're just getting started, you're not sure, but you've heard that Gamblin is one of the best, and they are pretty good. It's a nice place to start. And for some colors are so crazy expensive that, you know, if you're pinching pennies or whatever, those cad reds, just pick up one. This one here is the 1980 cad red, and it's fine. It's working just fine for me. What makes a paint a better quality than another paint is several things. It's how it's made, but you know, what oils they mixed with it and all of that. But it's also in how much pigment there is to how much filler. So in lesser grades, there's a lot of filler, and it's gross. You open the tubes, and like this junk liquid comes out, and then higher grade paints, you open the tube, and it's pretty much just the paint there. And but it's also in pigmentation. How far will that scoop of color go on your canvas? So a good quality paint will have a strong pigmentation, and you'll be able to paint a long time with it. You don't need as much to mix. I made the mistake once of buying this gigantic tube of really cheap ultramarine blue, just because I was going through it like water, and I bought this great big cheap tube thinking I was, you know, being really smart and everything. I had to use more than double the amount of paint to try to mix with, you know, just like a yellow and the blue to make a normal green. I had to use double the amount of blue than I normally use to mix the same shade of green. So it's not worth it to buy the cheaper grade that way. Okay, so that's fine for that fin there. Okay, now I'm going to just add the bounced light. Now, bounced light you never want to make as bright as, like if I just sit and I really focus on this highlight over here, if I just look at that on that side of that fish's head, the longer I look at it, the brighter it becomes. So you have to take everything in whole. Take it all at the same time, and then peripherally look at that reflected highlight, and you'll see all of a sudden it's not that bright. So I'm looking at that, and I see that it reflects the plank board that it's sitting on. So I'm going to make it about that shade. I'm going to come through here and just very lightly, just kind of gently lay a little bit of that on. A little bit over here. Okay? It doesn't need much. I'm going to come back through here and darken this passage right here. Oops, that's not dark enough. Alizarin, ultramarine blue. I know you can't see off the camera here. Bring that down around. There, now we see that. And that'll show up more too when I get the shadow in place in here. Okay, so let's give this fish some sparkle. Okay, so now I had mentioned that I was going to, this is the first layer. Okay, so now I'm going to come back through and just add some pop and sparkle and just really play with it a little bit. So I'm making a bright orange here. And I just see some places where I really think it needs a little kick. Just a little. It doesn't need much. Remember, we have this idea that if a little is good, then a lot is better. And that just, you gotta be careful. So, thinking too about these scales and where I see them. One of my favorite fish artists was Velasquez. Oh my gosh, in his very early paintings, just a teenager, painting these fish. Look up his fish paintings. They are, I mean, they weren't just fish. It was a whole still life interior scene, whatever. But he's got these fish in a bowl. And I remember poring over these pictures of his fish. And I always thought, man, if I could just paint like that. It was beautiful. There's something fleeting and temporal that we just love about still lifes. The light, the immediacy, and then it's gone. It's like just a glimpse into life, and then it's gone. You know, we don't have it. We don't have it very long. Okay, I'm gonna take a really small brush. I just got these little guys right down here, and let's get a little bit of linseed oil. I'm gonna start getting some of these shines in. So, taking some white. I'm just gonna make a nice little soupy mixture down here. This is just gonna be the shines, a couple of shines on the scales, not that many, and I'll just pop these out where I see them. Okay, and right on this gill, I see actually a little bit of yellow in this shine right here because it's a warm light. So let's do that. So I think I had too much coffee today because my hand's really shaky, but that's okay because it kind of gives your painting that little bit of realistic effect. Let's put a few little ones. I know you won't be able to see these because they're little, but again, I'll post the picture and share that. I want that shine there to be more significant. And some up in here. And maybe some around here. Okay, I gotta know when to stop. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is just take just take this. Let's get some color in the background. I lost that paper towel. Okay. Okay, let's get that plank in. Grabbing some yellow ochre. Let's just take some of this white that's here, a little bit of linseed oil. Where is it brightest? Is this bright? That's not very bright. Let's put this back here. Just make a mark down. See what you got. And bring it around. So this is one of the things I like to talk about too when I'm talking about painting still lifes is movement of light. So light moves, shadows hold. In this case, this plank has this kind of more muted color back here, and then up here it goes, and it's much brighter, the plank is. So I want to really catch more of that lit wood here. So see how much more brighter that is now than here? So that's what I mean by light moves. You'll notice it on tree trunks and people's faces, anything. Once you start paying attention to the way that light moves on an object, it becomes the most beautiful thing. In the sky, whatever, wherever you are. So that's shadow underneath that fish's head, so we're gonna leave that for now. And some over here. I don't even know how we're doing for time. I hope it hasn't taken too long. Wow. Drawing error, drawing error. Perspective, here we go. This angle here is accurate for that, but these should be parallel. So I just cleaned my brush off and I'm going to adjust this right here. Things you guys probably can see. But okay, that's better. So we'll just let that go off into shadow. Let's just get rid of that. Shadow, who cares? I like the green down here too because again, it helps to really complement that red. I think that's kind of cool. All right. Okay, so let's see. Let's do the shadow around the fish. When you're painting a still life and you have something like a fish or a cut apple or a flower that's laying on the surface and it's going to wilt or stink or die right away, you have to paint it first. And I know that there's rules to what you should paint first and so forth in a painting, but when you have something that is not going to keep, get it down quickly because, it's not going to stay. Again, one of the reasons we're fascinated by still lifes. So the shadow even too has this nice movement in it. It's darker right up by the fish's head. And then as it moves away from the fish, even though it's still a shadow shape, it's picking up a little bit more light. So there's a little bit of change there inside that shadow. So we'll just show that with a little bit of light in there. Clean that up. And we've got the edge of this plank right here. We'll just stick with that same color for the edge of the plank. Make sure it's parallel for Pete's sake. Okay, that's fine. All right, and then we've got the shadow over here on this side of the fish. And this does seem a little bit lighter than that back shadow because it is, of course, in front, but it's not totally light. So I can use this again to help define the shape of the head. And then it just sharpens back here, nice and sharp, like that. Okay, a little bit brighter light on this plank. I really want this to sing right in here. a contour to that shadow. I also don't want the shadow to look cookie cutter, so I'll soften it just a little. Okay. And some edge like this. Okay, now let's get some of this background. I'm using this bigger brush. I'm going to do some of this fabric real quick. Just a gray, ultramarine blue, burnt sienna. Let's grab some of that white that's down here. Economize. I can just use what I have on my palette already mixed up. I don't know that you can see that, but a little bit of linseed oil will stretch a little further. That's probably too dark. Let's make that a little bit lighter. I didn't like the shape. I thought it should go back further. And then we've got some color down here, shadows, whatever. Just using a little bit of that blue sienna mixture just to help define those forms and shapes. Okay, and let's grab a bunch of white. We're going to mix that into this mixture down here. Sorry, you can't really see that. Just like this. And I want to grab some of that yellow ochre too, because that's going to be fine like that. Let's get this fabric in. And I don't want this fabric here to be really distracting, so because I want this to be what this painting is all about, not the fabric. So I'm not going to paint that as, you know, white as snow, because A, it's not, and B, it would distract. So I want it to be a little more subdued. Just keeping it loose and suggested. And get some up here too. And back in here. Turn, lift, however you have to do it. I do want this, as the plane turns and goes down, I want this a little darker over here. Let's grab some linseed oil. I like to use just linseed oil. If you're new to following me, I try to keep my materials as simple and as close to the initial ingredients as possible. I've run the gamut on all kinds of materials and their mediums, and someone was commenting on my studio. I posted a picture of my studio on Facebook, and how do you keep it so clean? How do you keep it so organized? Well, it's very simple, actually. I've become somewhat of a minimalist with what I do and what I bring into my life. You streamline. I think plein air painting has also taught me that, is you don't need a lot of stuff. I have a wall of books in my studio over there that I also keep my still life props on. But you know, even in the studio, there's just not much that we really need. And if you can streamline, then you've simplified your life. You know, don't overcomplicate things. There's books and other teachers and our own selves that tell us, ooh, we need to have this, we need to have that. And then people say, well, it's so hard to make a living being an artist. Well, You know, don't feel compelled to buy everything that says art on it. You don't need it. So look for ways that you can streamline and simplify. I have a blog on my website about the life of an artist and trying to make a living and all of that. Well, how do you do these things? Well, read that blog. Actually, I have a lot of really good points in there on making a living as an artist. So if you're new to me, my blog has, actually I used to blog for years, and I just haven't for a long time. Just busy with life, about a year. And I just did a blog the other day, and it was so nice to just write again. So follow my blog on my website, Jessica Henry Fine Art. I've got lots of ideas, things to write about, and things to share, and things coming up, news about the TV show and whatnot. So check that out. And if you're watching on YouTube, I'll put a link down below so you can see it. So let's just get this in place. I'm not going to go and get this all done. I just want to lay in some of this value because I think it kind of helps offset all that. And I'm not really sticking with that strong brown background, but I do want to get some paint down here just to help. That's too gray. Just get some more sienna. I don't want it to be distracting, but I do want this tail back here to really look like it is one with its environment. Let's get some yellow ochre in there. Yeah, yellow ochre and blue make a really nice kind of soft green. I really wanted this tail here too to feel like it just lays back there. Get more blue in there. So I'm putting this down as a first layer of this background, and then I'm going to come back over it with a lighter feeling. Here, just a sec. You'll see it. Come on, tail. There we go. So let's get a little bit of a green mixture here, and I'm almost done. Yellow ochre, ultramarine blue, some white. More yellow ochre. It's too minty. I don't like that. That's looking better. And then it feels more like the table's getting some light without being distracting. And just because my board over there is brown does not mean that I have to paint this brown. So just choose whatever you think is going to fit best with what you're doing. And of course I thought that with the red snapper, a green background just sort of made sense. And it had a nice overall compositional balance. Alright, let's get a little bit thinner action in here and softening some of that towel or whatever that is. Okay, I think that wraps that painting up. So, Thank you, Fishy. Your life was not in vain. Let me see, let me move this back a little bit. Here we go. All right, guys. Just wanted to thank you again for joining me. I hope that you enjoyed this, and have a wonderful weekend. This will be up on my website here very soon, and that's about it. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe if you liked what you saw. I really appreciate it. And that's it. Actually, I'm going to take this camera, the phone here, and show you this up close. So there is the finished painting. And you can see that a little bit better. So there we go. All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining me. All right. Bye-bye.